right, I'm here.
Hey, how you doing?
Are you Bob Pullman?
I am Bob Holman. I'm a poet from New York. I'm the host and the MC of the slam that frees Saul Williams in this movie.
That's amazing. How did you get into like hosting and MCing?
Well, it just comes natural for me in the territory. Everybody's got to have a job. You know, being a poet is a full-time job. You can take off anything you want on your income tax because it's all inspiration.
Right,
you know,
every meal you have, every bus you take.
But I started. I guess I learned organizing with the CETA Artist Program, which was the largest federally funded artist program since the WPA. And then I went to work at nonprofits, hosting readings at the Bowery Poetry Club, which I founded in 20 years ago. And it was at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe. That's New York plus Puerto Rican when we were hosting the first slams in New York, which is where the slam started to make its way out into the world. And this is the film that really made the globalization of that incredible movement.
That's awesome, because I'm from Canada. I don't know anything about slam. We don't have poetry cafes or whatever. Do you think that's unique to New York, or it's?
No, just because it percolates right under the surface. You know, I've been to Banff several times to the Arts Center there because they host programs in what they call the spoken word.
Right.
Poetry originated as a spoken art, and still carries that power from the poets who drill through the wax in the ear of the audience in order to insert their poems.
That's so cool. I'm glad would you say poetry's still? It's not an old-fashioned thing. Like it's still thriving. People are still.
Listen. This is the film you got to see to understand that poetry is a liberating force. One of the poets in this movie, who was actually incarcerated when the film was made, Mamalu, he was in at 17 years old. He was in with 2 life sentences, and now he's here with us at Sundance. He's standing right over there. So. Poetry can do more than free the spirit. Yeah. The body can be there too. It's a political force, you know. And I'm glad that you don't know about this scene because what this movie is trying to do is let everybody know about it. You know.
The thing. Now I got to see it. I used to write poetry when I was young, and I just haven't done it lately.
We're all poets, and we all have done that. We've written those poems, and it's time to dust them off. You know, time to get them into your life too.
I think a lot of people feel like, oh well, it's not a good poem, or it's not the right syllables, or whatever. But anything is a poem.
That's it. And you know what the Poetry Slam does is we pick judges out of the audience who have no qualification whatsoever. We believe that everybody can not only be a poet, but can judge a poem. And people say, well, how do I do that? Well, you rate it between a 0, a poem that should never have been written, and a 10, a poem that causes mutual simultaneous orgasm throughout the audience. And of course, it's ridiculous. It's like going out on a blind date to an SAT exam or something.
Yeah,
you know?
You're like, I don't know.
Exactly. But everybody has their own voice, and also everybody makes their own choice about what poems they like. There are as many different types of poetry as there are of music.
Right.
You know, so people say if you don't like music, you're crazy. But if you don't like poetry, they're like you. You know, they don't. It's just because it's taken on that aura. But believe me, Slam the movie will infiltrate you and inspire.
So slam, does that mean it's referring to slam poetry, but maybe also the slammer, like jail? Is that the meaning?
You got it. You know, you're doing. See, now it's the multiplicity of meanings.
I saw the hats all over town. I'm like, oh, that must be the slam dance hats.
Well, there you go too. And Bob Kaufman, the poet, said that every slam is a finality. Every time you close a door on something, every time you slam somebody, you see, it's that kind of thing too. So once you get in there to the intricacies of language and the ambiguities, then you're living in the land of language, lingo-lango.
Well, that's why I call myself Spark the Genius, because I am Spark the Genius, but I will spark the genius within you. It's got all these layers.
Well, Spark, you've made me talk like this, so you've been the spark. Let's light the fire.
Exactly. You know? Well, where can I go to one of these slams and be one of the guest audience judges?
Well, here there are slams in Salt Lake City. As a matter of fact, Jose Soto, who's won slams here, has been performing with us because slam is a community, and we've reached out to the locals here. And Jose, who comes from Venezuela, has a big story to tell, and he's been telling it on the stage with Saul and Sonia and Mama Lou and me. We are, so we're listening to the local poets as well.
And you live in Salt Lake?
Now I'm in New York City, dude.
Right, okay,
I'm still there. I was working in New Eurekan when Mark Levin, who's an old friend of mine, he was in CETA also, that artist program, where I met him in the 70s, believe it or not. But since we were running the slams, he dropped in and saw this grand slam, and Saul was the winner, and Saul blew his mind, changed his life, and that was the origin story for how this movie came about.
Very cool. Well, I guess there you go. You got to go see Slam and slam your mind open or something. And spark some genius.
Slam open.
Slam open. Oh, there. We just wrote a poetry. Slam open. All right. Thanks a lot.